Hi, I'm Donna from Evoca, and in this video we're going to sculpt our vest. So bringing it into Mudbox the same way as we did our pants and boot. Just going to File, Send to, Add to Current Scene. Then we're going to start our sculpt by just adding a few subdivision levels. And then we'll just use the same techniques as I did with the other ones, just using wax and sculpt and what have you to build up our mesh. So I'm going to start here with the pockets in a very low subdivision level with my mirror on in the X, so making sure it's mirror across the X. So I've only got a subdivision level of 2 here, and I'm just going to sculpt in where the basic volume of the pocket will be. So I'm not going to worry too much of the shape, I'm just trying to bring this out from the mesh at the moment. Okay, so just continuing to build up the shape and add the depth to the pocket and smoothing it back to make sure that it doesn't get too jaggedy when we take it into upper subdivision level. I'm sorry. So I'm bringing back the concept to make sure that I'm getting the pocket shape similar to what it's got on the concept here. And then, yeah, just continuing to sculpt. So just using the sculpt tool again, just to bring out the volume and the depth. So you can see as I've changed the pocket shape, I've, smoothed it back, and you can see how it's starting to form and where the pockets will actually be on the vest. So then I've adding another subdivision level, we can start to add more detail to the shape. So using the wax tool this time, just to bring up the shape of the pocket. So now that we have the basic form of our pocket, we can start to define the edge. So again, just increasing the subdivision level as needed, and I'm just testing out the different fall-off stamps here to find the one that I like. So once I've found that one, I'm going to use the sculpt tool to cut in and define the edge of the pocket. Okay, I'm just trying to add a bit of depth to the pocket here, so it looks like that there's a hole, I guess would be the best way to describe it. So just cutting back into the mesh a little bit here and smoothing back. Okay, so now I'm going to create a new sculpt layer, and I'm going to mask off the outside around the pocket, so just around the outside of the pocket. I'm just adjusting the fall off on the brush here to get something that I like. There we go. So I'm doing this in order to kind of create the hole or the inside of the pocket. So okay, just adjusting the tool a bit. Again, sculpting is very much an experimental process. So you play with the settings until you find something you like, and then you can keep moving on. So I'm just sculpting around, still with the X, mirroring in the X. I'm cleaning up the mask a little bit here. Okay. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to grab the grab tool and pull that pocket out a little bit. Smooth it off a little as well. So again, since there's no actual pocket built into the mesh, this is going to show up flatter in the normals. But again, it's just that it helps to add the depth to the model. You can always cut the pocket into the mesh if you want, if you have enough polys to do that. But it'll all depend on the poly count. And really whether or not it's a necessary feature. I mean, if she was putting her hands in her pockets all the time, perhaps we would cut them in to give the extra geometry needed to look like she's actually putting her hands in the pockets. And I'm going to use the grab to pull it up a little bit as well. So just cutting into the mesh and then pulling it, smoothing it back and pulling it up. Okay, some of the polys are beginning to stretch on the inside there, but it won't be seen, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. You can always smooth it back a little bit more as well. Okay, moving off the sculpt layer, I'll just start to define the edges a little bit more again with the sculpt tool and the fall off. So again, just cutting that in and smoothing it back. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the pockets as they stand now, so I'm going to start to add some folds into the vest. So again, just around here where the armpit and the breast is, and across the back, so there'll be some pull folds across the back as her shoulders. And again, yeah, just here on the sides, just a few little ones. Nothing too drastic, nothing too yeah, dramatic. Lost the word. But yeah, just little ones around the pockets ends as well. So making sure we save, always save. Smoothing back as well. So just subtle folds. Okay, yep, so I've just made some of the folds around the armpits a little bit more pronounced, because this will be where a lot of movement happens anyway. Okay, with those done, just bring it up a little bit higher here, cut in a little bit more. And smoothing back. So just a little small brush to define the edge of the fold a little bit, to make it a little bit sharper. Gives it that pinched look when we smooth it out. Just going to add a little bit of a dip here, just a slight one. Smoothing it out so it's just a bit of visual interest, really. Now that that's done, I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to add it's just a bit of noise, I guess would be the best way to describe it, into the collar. So something that makes it look like it's a bit rough. It's a different type of material, but I'm not really going in and I'm going to define it exactly. So I'm just going to use the wax tool just to go up and down, kind of like a ribbed, I guess would be a good way to describe it. And then I'll just smooth all that out as well. So don't forget the top of the collar. And then smoothing it out. It just adds noise to the mesh, which will add visual detail, visual, something to look at, visual noise. Okay, I think that's starting to look pretty good. I'm just going to, again, just, put a little bit of noise into the actual vest itself so it doesn't look completely smooth. So just with a very, very small strength on my brush, just going in and doing kind of like a cross-hatching. Don't want to get too close to the edge there, it'll cause problems. But just doing that over the entire mesh. Okay, that's starting to look pretty good. I'm happy with that. So one of the last things I'm going to do is I'm going to add kind of like a piping detail around where the zipper and the base of the mesh of the vest. So just with my wax, I'm going to go in, put mirror on, make sure mirror's on, and I'm just going to go in and drag a line down along the edge of the vest. So it just kind of creates that detail where there'd be a stitch, or where the zipper would be shown, where the zipper would be sewn in, if I can say it correctly, around the edge of the vest. So there we go. It's just kind of like a finishing detail. We can use flatten to make it look a little less balloony. And then I'll go in with a fall off and cut in around very small, very, very slight strength, so nothing too deep, just to help define that piping detail. So there we go. You can see it coming together. I'm going to use pinch a bit now just to bring in the seam a bit. And I think she's almost done. So just add this one seam here as well. Obviously a vest is not one complete piece of material. That's more like a poncho. So we'll just add this seam here. Again, the same way as we created all our seams, using select and a fall off, sculpt and a fall off, and then using pinch to go back in to bring them together. Don't forget the top of the shoulders. The seam will also be there usually on a vest or even on a shirt. Okay, there we go. I'm just going to add a few puckering type details like we did with the pockets. So just going in with a quick wax detail and just bringing in some areas and cutting in others. So just a puckering where the stitching would lie. Again, this will be very faint detail, so we'll smooth it almost all the way back. Making sure not to get rid of the seam, of course. Do that on both sides and up the top. Well, with mirror on, so you wouldn't have to do it on both sides, but don't forget around the front here, maybe just a little bit of puckering there around the seam on the piping on the front. Just a bit more around the pockets as well. Just adding a bit more of that detail. And there we go. We'll call that done. We have now completed our vest. Just having a look at the overall shape, but there we go.